Hi, Dave here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to get the best sound out of your Traktor Kontrol S3 and software for this garden party. So before you get excited, I know the pandemic's still going on. Hopefully things are going to be getting better soon and things are relaxing. Therefore people are starting to do garden parties at respectable distances, of course. Be safe. And I know people are going to be getting their DJ equipment out and DJing for their neighbours, even if they don't want to hear it. So I thought I'd show you how to get a good sound out of the S3 and Traktor Pro 3, and then we're going to skip over to the iPad as well. So the first thing, let's get the geeky stuff out of the way, but it is important, and let's talk about leads. I've talked about leads before, but not the 3-pin beauties. So you've got a choice between unbalanced and balanced. With the unbalanced, we're talking about RCAs on this occasion, and on the balanced side, we've got the XLRs. Now, I'm not going to go too far in depth with it, but I will put a link up for a video that is very good for you to watch if you so wish. With an RCA, you have a ground and a sleeve with one signal, and essentially you can pick up a lot of noise through it, especially when the cable gets longer and longer for garden parties. So with a balanced cable, the XLR, you have two signals and a ground. One's positive and one's negative, and essentially it flips the phasing towards the end to cancel out a lot of noise. Therefore, these are ideal cables when you're using long runs especially, but overall, the best choice. So basically, you can turn things up louder and they still sound okay. But in Traktor, we can change our headroom. So let's have a look at the software. If we go to Preferences and we go to our mixer, down here our internal mode and our external mode. I'll talk about that in a minute. We've got Enable Auto Gain. I don't personally use that because I like to be the person who decides how loud it is. So before we get to the limiter type, we've got the headroom. So it actually advises -3 for simple 2 decks A and B. Then we have -6 dB, which is for 2 decks set up with frequent use of effects and EQs, which I assume are most DJs anyway. -9, more than 2 decks frequently, and -13, 4 deck setup, including remix sets. Now if you look here, it's actually gone down to -12, but I do 4 deck setup quite a lot, and I use effects and filters and EQs all the time. But I personally don't use -12. I actually use -6 because I haven't needed to boost it to a stage where it's given me that distortion, because I do find Traktor Pro 3 really useful like that and really good. They've done a lot of testing and it's upgraded quite a lot. But if you do find that you have an issue with it, you can step down. Now, one option on here is we apply headroom to channels, which is really useful. So if I play this song here and we're on headroom as -3. Now before we do that, we're going to put this on 0, so we're going to give it a 0 grounding, a good bass start, and then we're going to play and we're going to boost this up. Now you can see that's going up to the top, so I personally would have mine there. But if we do go and need to go louder, what we can do is we can do a headroom and apply it, and it goes down. Let me go down to 12. You see it now pushes it down. Now I don't understand why you would not want that ticked, because that says it's clipping, but you've got the headroom in there. So I personally would advise apply headroom to channel meters, and then again you've got a -12 there. So play around with it, boost it, do whatever you need, but it's about balance, and I'm going to talk to you about that at the end. Before we get onto limiter, I just want to talk to you about something it says about the EQ type. I use the ZISO, because I like the sound of it. But actually, again, if you look at the Traktor forum, it actually recommends you have it to classic as the EQ type, because the ZISO alters the original sound quality when the knobs are even at 12 o'clock, which is interesting. But I still use the ZISO because I prefer the sound. And again, if I had any problems, it's good to know that they recommend this. But again, trial and error, see what you think. So next, let's talk about the limiter type. So we have classic and we have transparent. Classic is the Traktor Pro 2 version, which lets in a little bit of distortion. And you have transparent, which is the newer, upgraded Traktor Pro 3 version, which does it so much better in my opinion, and it's a lot smoother in the way it does things. So what is a limiter? Well, a limiter is a safety net. It stops something going too loud. So when you push something up towards it and it hits that, it will then push it back depending. So if it goes past by 1 dB, it will push it back by 1 dB, and so on and so forth. And we can actually see that happen here. So I'm going to have it on transparent, and watch up here. Now I've got the limiter selected, there's an orange line there. So we can turn that on and off there, or we can turn it on and off here. And if I go to none, so I play this song here, and I put it on a loop, you can see at this volume, it's starting to hit the wall, the limiter wall, and push it back. If I boost it up even more, now it's going backwards, so it's pushing it all the way down. So some DJs keep trying to turn up things constantly and can't work out why it gets quieter, when actually what you need to do is bring things down to make it louder. So at the moment we are boosted and we're getting that. Now if I change that to -3, the limiter goes down a bit because we've got more headroom. -6, it's just touching. -9, all just touching the wall, and 12, it's safe-ish. It's still very loud and scares me, but I would have it there if I was using 12. So you can see how it works. So it pushes forward and then it will push back and say, no, you are not allowed to go louder than that, which is very good for your speakers, your ears, your music you're playing, and also the venue, especially if they've got limiters in there. Now with external mixing mode, you can actually use external sources such as turntables or CDJs if you want, without a computer, and you can program it into it first, like the S4 Mark III, and therefore it will apply that in its brain when you go out and about. So you can actually use, for example, the S4 Mark III as an external mixer with record decks and CDJs without a computer. Please bear in mind as well, the EQs and the effects will affect the volume. So bear that in mind when you are using and applying headroom. Now we've got that, that's fantastic, but we want to know how we can get the best sound. And in my experience, it's all about balance. So I personally have my main on 0, because why not? That's the best place to be, in my opinion. And then I have my gains all dependent on what I'm playing. So if I'm playing something that naturally is louder, then I will turn it down. If it is compressed to hell, like a lot of dance tunes are, then I'm going to want to turn it down. And it's all about balance here. So I want to make sure when I play this, I'm going to hit just about the orange, and I'm happy with that. And just because it says -5.4, that's not a problem. We're still kicking out into the orange on here. And then if I then apply this one, again, I'm going to turn this down until I hit the orange as well. Now, obviously that's only an indicator and it's not completely accurate. You want to use your ears for all this as well, but this is very useful for a visualization. And remember, your master out is not related to the main out on here. So this is my 0 and I'm happy with that. This one could be here, could be there, all depends. And then on top of that, you've got your speaker volume, which you need to then work out as well. So I will start mine on a 1/4, and I want to get the music right first. So I'll have my speakers on a 1/4 on, and I'll press play, and I'll get this right first, and then I'll get this right. So say for instance, I'm going to go up to about 0, closest to 0 without going too mad over the top. And then I'll then adjust my speakers accordingly. You can do it a couple of different ways, but this way I've found that I have lots of headroom going forward in everything I've got, the software, the hardware, and the speakers as well. So once you've got that balance, it works really well, and this is a very powerful sounding and internally controller to be able to do a garden party or a mini rave. Again, a little tip, don't turn things up too loud too quickly, because people get used to it, they get their ears muffled and they want it louder and louder and louder. So it's good to start at a half decent volume and then crank it up a bit and then a bit. So hopefully you're not blasting everyone's ears and they all walk away with tinnitus. The last thing I want to talk to you about is the iPad, and if you're DJing with an iPad, because it runs Traktor DJ2, but it doesn't have everything that Traktor Pro 3 does, obviously. So what do we do about that? So let's check this out. At the moment, if I switch to there, we are running now this on the iPad, as you can see. If we go to our volume options, we've only got main volume up. So what we need to do is rely on the master and the EQs being up full enough, and again it's all about balance, so balancing them with the speakers. So if I load up a track here and press play, you can see it's going in to the orange on there, so that means I'm happy with that track volume. And my master, I'm going to boost up. Okay, I want to try and hit that -3.0, and now it's all about my speakers. But don't forget, this will change depending on the song, but I'm not going to go past there. So with my master here, again, I would probably have it here, so I've got a bit of headroom, which is this part here, for the later on in the evening. Now I'm lucky enough to have speakers that go 1000 watts each, so they're really, really loud and very nice. They're the Mackies, which you saw in the B-roll at the beginning. But remember, it's all about where you're playing, who you're playing for, height of the speakers as well. You know, you want to make sure that at ear level, if there's a small crowd, or go just above them if there's more people. So, and if they're talking or not, just tell them to shut up and listen to your music. Now with the iPad as well, when you're running the S3, because it is quite powerful and kicks out quite a lot, then you will need to have it plugged into the mains, whereas you don't with a laptop. So remember, XLRs, headroom, limiter, use your ears, be sensible, don't go too loud too quickly, balance everything and have fun. Stay safe out there, hope this has helped. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.